I've moved to the garage for spray painting now. A couple of things with this. It's not really ideal conditions. You might be able to hear from the noise on the roof that it's raining today. Normally you should avoid spray painting in humid weather because it affects the paint. But I'll be using acrylic. Acrylic sticks to pretty much anything, and it can be thinned with water. So it's very forgiving paint, very good for amateur jobs. So I've just mixed it with roughly 50-50 water just by eye. It's this sort of consistency. Always filter it to get rid of lumps. I'll be using a bottom fed gun, and I'll be using this sprayer, which is the hobby sprayer. This tank is way too small. I'll have to stop and wait for this tank to recharge many times, but my other equipment is just too big. These are the ones I use for the car, and it's just too much overkill. So I'll see how it goes. I have the test pieces here. Some offcuts from each of the two bins. This is the forearm offcut, and this is the shoulder pad. This is the one I think is going to give me the most problems. So I'll give each one a test spray and see how it goes. Hopefully the acrylic will stick, and let's see. So the practice pieces have proved that adhesion is okay to any surface. You can see that I put it on way too thick. That's why we have this texturing. So I had to drop the pressure right down low, and then I was getting better results, as you can see on this one. The only problem is the flash point of this stuff is going to be, well, it's not really going to flash, it's evaporation because I'm mixing with water. So each coat is going to take a really long time to dry. Try putting it on too heavy for a wet coat, and then you get texturing like this, which is not so bad. But light dusting is going to be the key. This turns out to be the hardest material. So it's going to be really fine dusting layers on this one. But while I've got the paint mixed up and the gun out, I thought I might as well give the first parts their dust coat. So I've masked off the chest light, and on the shoulder pads I've masked off the ball socket where the shoulder light fits into, because you don't want paint collecting in that ball socket and then the light won't fit into it cleanly anymore. Back LED and the panels where the lights go. And then the only other part I have to mask is the battery panel window. The outer ring will be painted, and then the inner circle will be the window where the LED shines through. And don't forget, if you're spraying anything with a window, mask the non-painted side too, because the mist will go around and stick on the inside of the window and obscure it. So I'll give these parts a light dusting now and then call it a night. All the black undercoat is done now. This acrylic dries very smooth, it self-levels very nicely. You can see I sprayed that underside as well. Let's look at this piece. This took a long time to dry. Basically it was like 2 to 3 days of spraying and waiting for coats to dry. There's a couple of defects. Like this must have been due to some dust or something, but doesn't matter too much. The top layer will mask it. I sprayed inside as well, just roughly, so it doesn't look white. And the only other problem was on the battery pack. That light fell inside. The glue inside must have broken a bit because this flexes. So I'm going to have to reach inside somehow and put 2 screws in and screw this piece more tight. But undercoat wise it's all done. So to repair this light, I managed to hold it from inside with 2 fingers and then drill through from this side and just miss my fingers. Then I could screw through the whole thing, and that's nice and tight. I'm going to spray the brown colour on the battery pack first, so I've started to mask off the rest of the bodysuit. Don't stick this really sticky stuff straight on your fresh paint. When you take it off, you'll rip all the paint with it. So this is a very low tack tape. It's not sticky. So I've masked all around here. Double lapped the corners. You can see there's the inside straight layer first, then the cross piece, and then another straight piece on top. Then on top of this tape, you can stick the really sticky stuff and spread the spread the plastic around. I've now finished spraying the top coat, the pearl gloss layer. For this, I use this high gloss acrylic varnish with regular dip pearls mixed in. These are the same ones I use for the car. For the brown parts, it was a 50-50 mix of this mocha brown and radiant red, and for the copper parts, it was just this straight. Although at the end of the day, the brown and red mix is actually not that different from the copper. I was hoping for a bit more of a contrast, but it's okay. This will do. This cog is also the brown colour. The paint actually gave me a lot of problems. The consistency of the high gloss varnish was far too runny, and the pearls would not stay suspended in it properly. I had to keep on shaking the cup just to get any of the pearls to come out. Also, yeah, you can see it dripping here. It's extremely runny, so I have a lot of drip marks on it, and a lot of places where the acrylic is gathering. You can see the white part where it's still not dried. But I decided it's good enough. You won't really see it when it's all on him and he's walking around. Some parts I had to keep on wiping with a towel continuously to stop the paint from running too much and dragging all the pearls with it. So in the end, I went for a very crude finish, like a spot spray type of finish. So you can see that the pearl finish is not very even, but that's okay because it will just look a bit like a weathered kind of, I don't know, war damaged robot. You know, not perfectly shiny like a new car. The mouth on here, I had to respray black afterwards because it ran too much. So you can see the finish is not great at all, but when it's all together, with the finishing touches and the lights, I think it won't be that noticeable, or it will blend in and look quite natural. That's what I'm hoping. So now I just need to let it dry, and then do the final assembly of parts. Put some foam padding inside the head, and then we can try it on him. So now the torso is assembled and all the parts are stuck on. These two cogs I decided to stick on the front rather than the side, because it just looked good. You can't quite see the copper sheen unless I get up close in this light, but in the daylight it's much stronger. So you can't see the light is changing colour unless I go from the top. Maybe you can see. And the shoulder pads are on, and the shoulder pad lights are on, and then round the back the battery pack light is in, and the rear lights are in, and the battery pack also changes colour. The head is also complete now. I've stuck those caps on the side, so they look like the jaw hinges, just hot glued on with black hot glue, and the eyes, actually the wheels of the original bin, were just the right size, so I've just hot glued those on with 2 of those reflective stickers, and that's it. And I kind of like the way they jut out a little bit. So the head is roughly the right size already. It has a bit of play all the way around it, and it wobbles about on its head a bit. So I've lined it with this foam. This is 3 centimeters thick, quite soft, sticky back. I just cut it to shape and lined it around the outside of the head. This thickness, 3 centimeters, once it's compressed a little bit, turns out to be exactly the right distance I need. And on the very top, so this will be against the top of his head, this is just a patch again of foam. This is only a few millimeters thick, but it just takes off the hardness of this against the top of the head. This is kind of like memory foam, this stuff. And then you'll see also on the edges of this foam, just with a pair of scissors, I've contoured it a little bit. So as his head goes in, it's not just hitting the square edge and pushing it off. It should help to slide it in. So now that that's done, this foam against the head is going to be quite hot. So I've got an offcut bit of cloth for 100 yen, and I'm going to try lining it on top of the foam. So you'll have the cloth against his skin rather than this foam. So to line the head, I've put in a load of double-sided tape, and I'm just going to push the cloth in and work my way out, and then tape around the outside afterwards. So the lining is now in. It's not finished perfectly. At the corners I just kind of bunched it up and stuck it in, especially at the front, but it's good enough. And I'll put some cloth tape around this outside edge just to make it neat. And after putting the tape on, now the lining's finished.